Found us. It's gotta find. You got to look for us. You found us on YouTube on the YouTube channel at Emil1, or maybe on X, formerly known as Twitter. You say, "Oh, Emil is hosting. Well, what is this? Emil is doing something." Yeah, I'm live. We're live at 2 p.m. Pacific. There on X, formerly known as Twitter. Also on FB.com, Facebook at Emil Amok, or see EmilGuillermo.media, or at where else? It's just in the Facebook under my name, Facebook, all these different places. We send out the show. Our secret. There's a lot of secret podcasts, but this is more secret than all of them, because all the other ones that say that they're secret, people know about them. People know about those podcasts, but this one, no one knows about this. It is so secret. Well, you can keep it a secret, but I'm asking not to. Let people know where we are. We're talking about the news. We're talking about things that affect Asian Americans, although you don't have to be Asian American. People of a certain age might say, "Oh, yeah, I remember that's what they used to say about Levy's rye bread. You don't have to be Jewish." Now, that dates me. That's an old bread. We're not serving up old bread here. But the subtitle of the show is WDAAAT, What Does an Asian American Think? That's what we ask here of the news on this show. Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. I am the aforementioned Emil Amok, Emil Guillermo, Emil Amok to you. Hi. 2 p.m. Pacific live, and we do it because it's kind of like exercise. We can do it. It's not exactly like climbing a mountain, but we're out here. We're talking. Lots to talk about. I'm going to talk about Easter and religion, vegan Easter. Going to talk more about Cesar Chavez. I gave a speech yesterday in San Francisco. The group that they gave a talk to was it was a San Francisco independent living organization. And they're a great San Francisco community living, right? They're a great organization. They're mostly seniors, and I'm glad because I'm as old as many of them, and I felt very, very young. So I saw old high school folks there in Glen Park. Check out episode 672. I talked more about what I said and the speech there. In that episode, you can find it in all the little places I mentioned. But I do want to talk about first, and I'm going to get to some of the other things in the news. Like, I saw something like, what makes you middle class in California? What income you need to make? And it's like a ridiculously low amount. But that's if we're really looking at middle class from a perspective of, oh, yeah, that was middle class in the 80s and the 90s. And now, since the digital age and the inflation of salaries in technology makes it so, oh, yeah, 100 grand isn't what it used to be. And that's what they pay the flunkies in the tech world, because now they're luring people who are AI prompt engineers like $1 million to get them into the fold. And that's because that's how much is at stake. So, yeah, you see these news stories coming out saying, oh, well, if you lived in Fresno or Modesto or Stockton, yeah, 68,000 is the lower end of middle class, but nowhere near what middle class is if you live out in the coast. So we have a kind of a bifurcated state. It's not north and south. It's like tech world versus normal world in California, which is unfortunate because it is split up based on not north and south again, but the coast versus the communities that are inland. And it's going to be a challenge for politicians in the future in this very blue state, as some people might say, hey, it's not blue enough. And some people who are making all that money who are blue might say, hey, maybe we're a little redder than we think. So California. What's going to happen to California in the next 10, 20 years? And who might be governor? It might be a Filipino American. It might be Asian American. It might be Attorney General Rob Bonta, who I know his heart is in the right place. He grew up around His parents worked next to Chavez, Keene, Bakersfield around there. Smart guy Rob Bonta, heart in the right place. Maybe he's the future. They're talking about him as running for governor at some point in the next two years. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So I do want to talk right off the bat before I get into other things. Oh, also, I want to talk about this word that has just been in my mind: perfidiousness, or perfidious. If you're perfidious or are prone to perfidiousness, or if you are guilty of I just gave it away. If you're guilty of perfidy, what is that? I saw that word and I didn't know it. And because we don't know that word, our democracy may be in trouble. I mean, I don't say that lightly, but I'll get to that in a second. First, I want to talk about the New York City Fringe. You know, I'm going to that, right? Let me share the screen. I'm going to the New York City Fringe. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll share the screen. There it is. Lost NPR host, wily Filipino, vegan trans dad. Yes, all those things in that show. It's an Emil Amok monologue. I've been talking about doing these Emil Amok monologues since 2015. I said I'm preparing these Emil Amok monologues, and so I've been actually doing them since 2017. And every year they come out, there are new variations. This one is Emil Amok, lost NPR host, sort of my origin media story. Wily Filipino, which is my origin Filipino story. So I got the origin media story and the origin Filipino story. And then I'm talking about vegan trans dad, which is, what the hell is that about, Emil? You're just going to have to see. You're just going to have to see it. It's Emil Amok, lost NPR host, vegan, wily Filipino, vegan trans dad. And let's see. Let's make it a little bigger. It's at the New York City Fringe. I'll show you that. Under St. Mark's Theater, 94 St. Mark's Place, New York, 10009. April 5th, 9:50 p.m. Monday, April 8th, 8:10 p.m., which is, yes, it's the eclipse. But it's it's sort of post-eclipse bliss. Go see the eclipse. And then once your eyes have been destroyed by the eclipse because you didn't watch it properly, come into the theater and everything you see at Under St. Mark's when I do it will be just perfect. Your post-eclipse experience, April 8th, 8:10 p.m., Monday. Then Saturday, April 13th, 5:20 p.m. That's a special day because that's a time that the Aldef folks hopefully will come by. Everything from this show, not everything, the profits in this show from all the shows are going to honor ALDEF, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, in honor of their 50th anniversary. Just my way of saying thank you to ALDEF. The 13th, the show on April 13th especially will be for them. But everything, if I make any money out of this, a good portion will go to ALDEF. Friday, April 19th, 8:10 p.m. That should be a good show. 8:10 p.m. Friday. You're saying we're out? We're about? We want to see what this Emil is all about, what this wily Filipino stuff's all about. Sunday, April 21st, 5:20 p.m. That's the last show, the final show. And they may run me out of town. They may. Right? Some of my friends have said, "Oh, we'll see you at the last show. That'll be your best show." Well, maybe. It may be depressing if no one shows up in the other four shows. But I'm saying if you're in New York, come see it. Emil Amok, Los NPRs, wily Filipino, not referring to me. Actually, it refers to something that Steve Martin wrote that I talk about. There may be some wily Filipinos that appear. Vegan trans dad. Oh my God. Vegan trans dad, Emil. Is this one of those shows? Is this one of those girly boy kind of shows, Emil? Vegan trans? Really? Vegan trans? You're just going to have to see. I reveal all. I reveal all in this show. So I hope you make it. And if you have any trouble, go to the website, the frigid.nyc website, and then put down Emil Amok, 2 words, and then you get tickets and for those dates, April 5th, April 8th, all different times. That eclipse show might be fun. I just realized, oh my God, April 8th is going to be the eclipse show. But that should be fun because the eclipse happens around 3 o'clock Eastern time, I think. And then by 8 o'clock, people will all be burned out. They'll say, I need to rest my eyes. Let me go see Emil underground at the Under St. Mark's. It's an underground theater. It's kind of a cool theater. You go underground, and it's very cozy. It's very intimate. Very intimate. Very intimate space. You'll like it. It's funny. I ratcheted up the funny parts. But that means you ratchet up the funny parts. That means the pain parts are also pretty deep. Saturday, April 13th, 5:20 p.m. April 19th, Friday, 8:10 p.m. Sunday, April 21st, 5:20 p.m. Final show. That one should be fun. And then I go home. I go back to California and say, what the heck did I think I had to do New York? No, I have to do New York because number one, it's fun in New York. It's fun to be in New York. It's fun to be there. It's fun to go there. It's fun to test what you can do. April 2nd, if you want to see all the other acts, there's like a snapshot show where everyone does a quick 2.5 minutes of their shows at the Crane Theater. I think that's on 4th, West 4th, at the Crane. So 7 o'clock at the Crane on April 2nd, Tuesday. I'll be doing like 2.5 minutes of my show. You'll sample it and you'll say, it's like kreplach. It's like a little dumpling. Yeah. It's nice. It's nice. It's good. And you'll see the other shows. And you say, how will I ever see all the shows? Well, you'll just have to try. And then get this. Here's a new thing they're doing. They're going to have our posters. So this poster here, Emil Amok, Los NPR host, Wiley Filipino, vegan trans dad. They're going to have that among the others up there on Times Square. Yeah, on Wednesday, the 3rd. So it's going to be a fun time. I think it's on in the morning. So, I mean, does anyone get influenced by Times Square billboards, digital billboards? I don't know. Maybe if, people walking by say, oh yeah, there's that guy with the gong. Is that a gong or is that a gongular eclipse? Is that, what is that? So anyway, Emil Amok, Los NPR host, Wiley Filipino, vegan trans dad. It's coming. It'll be up there on Times Square, April 3rd. If you're in New York and just, I can't wait for the Emil show. Well, yeah, you'll see the billboard up there among all the others who are part of the New York City Fringe. So the New York City Fringe, the first time it's happening in April, I think. Usually it's in February, March, and usually it's very frigid. But this time they're moving it to April where it should be very wet. I hope not. But opening night for me, April 5th, 9:50 p.m., Friday night, under St. Mark's, 94 St. Mark's Place. You can get your tickets there or go to frigid.nyc and get your tickets. Also, if you're saying, Emil, hold your breath, you're wasting your breath, I'm not going to New York. Okay, if you're not going to New York, well then, bully for you. I will live stream it to you. Yeah. And for the live stream price, I think it's something like $20. For the live stream price, you can get it wherever you are. If you are in LA, San Francisco, Sacramento, Fresno, wherever you are, Des Moines, Texas, say, hey, I got to see what this Emil guy's up to. And a live stream capability will be up. I mean, I frankly think you should just call me up and say, Emil, come do your show live in my town. But if you want to live stream it, go ahead and live stream it. It should be fun. So live stream or live. Wanted to mention that that's happening. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, Wiley Filipino, vegan trans dad. And what did people say about this thing? Well, the Manhattan Digest said, well, it exposes America's ugly colonization of the Philippines, along with other comical and often profound observations. Oh my God, I'm not related to that guy. Must see for anyone who cares about human rights and social justice. That's what Manhattan Digest said. And then the Orlando Weekly, when they saw me perform, said, enjoy trying to keep pace with Guillermo's brilliant mind, funny, poignant. Oh, the Orlando Weekly, those kidders there. Check out the show, please. 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 And I appreciate it. And, afterwards, if you're so inclined, we'll get together to talk some more. Most people just want to run away and look askance, look somewhere else, avoid eye contact. But some people do. Some people want to avoid. Some people want to make eye contact. And if that's you, then certainly, yeah. Well, let's make eye contact. Let us make eye contact. And definitely pick up a souvenir postcard, because the souvenir postcard has all different ways to get in touch with me and read my columns and wherever they are. The ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog. It is a guaranteed fun time. 60-minute show. You'll enjoy it. You will enjoy it. We discovered our swishes. We got our swishiness back. I listened to some old shows and I said, wow, what is that? It's like the rockets backfiring or something. No, it's the swishiness of the show. For some reason, I mothballed the swishes, but there they are. The front and the back. The backwash. The front wash and the backwash. So today really was something. I, one by one, because I'm on the West Coast here in the cheap part of California, the middle class part of California, the interior part, the soul of California. And I got this email saying, the thing that you thought was on Wednesday is Tuesday. Now you have to change your flight. And I'm panicking saying, hey, it's just a few days before I have to get there. I'm changing a flight that's going to cost me money. Fortunately, I'm flying with an airline that is notorious for screwing up. And they had a scheduling problem. No, it's not that one. It's the other one. And I'm loyal to it. I like this airline. I like that it has non-stops. But what happened to this airline was they have a provision saying that if we screw up, you can make the changes for free if it's within a day of the screw up. So I was able to make the change and change my flight. So I get there on April 2nd. And I said, oh, great. I'm flying on April 1st. So that's kind of fun. April Fool's Day. Do you believe everything will be all right? I mean, especially after, Baltimore, that's a ship. This is a plane. It's different, but do you have faith? And then there's, and then the guy says, yeah, I have faith. And he said, okay, great. We'll put you in row 13 then. I hope you're not superstitious. No, I'm not superstitious. But I must say, this is the airline that makes you pay an upgrade for door bolts. So you know what airline. So yeah, I got the door bolts. You have to get the upgrade though. Like some airlines give you the upgrade to get on early and put your bags up early and get settled earlier. I got the upgrade for door bolts. So I should be fine. I should be fine. The guy just said, hey, relax. We triple checked all these Boeing 737 Maxes. We're fine. Good thing I got the door bolt upgrade. So that happened this morning. So that's crazy. And then I had some news on my website. The people who screwed it up are fixing it. And then I'm going to take it away from them, give them to someone else. Uh, and then I had to pick up my daughter at the just one thing after the other. All right, and so I'm driving, and and an email catches my eye, and it's the word Perfidious. I guess it would be if it was a name, like if your name was Perfidious Clark or Perfidious Jones, you would be Perfy, like Perfy Sledge. Yeah, you know, when a man loves a woman. Remember him? Perfidious. I don't know what perfidious means, but it was there. It was the New York Review of Books putting it out on their you know, their email headline. Scratched my head and said, God, my SAT score was okay, but it wasn't as high to get perfidious. Or the root perfidy, because we're all about roots if we want to spell things and get the right meaning. But I asked some people, well, you know what perfidious means? No one. No one knew. I mean, I asked some smart people too, who had higher SAT scores, etc. This definitely is an SAT word, and it definitely shows what's happening in our electorate, because I would dare say that 90% would not know perfidious. Not if perfidious was staring them in the face with an ascot. This isn't an ascot, by the way. It's just a Filipino tubao. It's a Filipino scarf. It's ethnic, not an ascot. But if perfidious was to stare you in the face, would you know him? Would you know what he was about? And I think 90% of the people would say absolutely not. What the heck is perfidious, Emil? Well, and in the New York Review of Books, it was attached to someone named Trump, Perfidious Trump, which should tell you something about the nature of perfidy, or the nature of, you know, what is it about, right? Perfidious. Perfidy, P-E-R-F-I-D-Y, perfidy, deceitfulness, untrustworthiness. In a literary sense, it was an example of his perfidy. What does it mean? Well, in war, it means treachery, want of faith, breach of faith. In the context of war, perfidy is a form of deception in which one side promises to act in good faith, such as by raising a flag of truce. So it'd be someone who raises that white flag and you go in because you trust that person, and the other person with the white flag then takes out his AR-15 and guns you down. It's putting up this image of good faith with the intention of breaking that promise once the unsuspecting enemy is exposed, such as by coming out of cover to take the surrendering prisoners into custody. The U.S. has done it in the past. I'm sure you can find at least one major moment where that has happened, especially to Asians, where it's like, oh, it's like a sucker play, right? We're surrendering. No, we're not. Boom, boom, boom. Sucker. And you hear that, and doesn't it just remind you of Donald Trump? That's Donald Trump. Donald Trump is perfidy. I mean, that's what it is. Share perfidy here. That's the definition. Acts inviting the confidence of an adversary to lead him to believe that he is entitled to, or is obliged to accord, protect under the rules of international law applicable in armed conflict with intent to betray the confidence shall constitute perfidy. And so I was reading this headline from an email from the New York Review of Books, and I said, "Oh my God, perfidy! That's perfidy." That and then the name was Perfidious Trump, and I thought, well, that's what Trump could call himself, or Trump could call his, if he has another kid from Melania. I don't know if that's possible, but maybe he adopts a kid and call it Perfidious Trump. Actually, that should be his name. I mean, but this thing, you can call him Perfidious, and everyone says, haha, only the insiders who picked up a dictionary, who scored above 800 in the SATs, would say, oh, yes, perfidy. Well, we know that. We know that. But 90% of the people would not know. This is the thing about Donald Trump. He is perfidious in our face, and we don't know. We don't know what hit us because we trust him. We shouldn't, but we trust him with all his trials, with all the things that are going through. And I just thought, oh my God, perfidious. That should be Donald Trump's name. It shouldn't be DJG, Donald John Trump. It should be Donald Perfidious Trump, DPT, or just PT, Perfidious Trump. Perfidious, PERF, Perfidious Trump. It's perfy. He's perfy, like Perfy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman. You know that song. It's a good song. People of a certain age know Perfy Sledge. But I don't think Perfy Sledge was perfidious. I think he was just Percy. He was just regular Percy. I swear, perfidious. What a word. I mean, sometimes, people get stuck on words. Like, people don't know how bad is, and they say, oh, an horrific crash, an horrific time, an horrific, event. People, bodies flying, bullets flying. It was a horrific. And so we overuse horrific. And so we don't have enough words for bad. But now perfidious, just like, oh, the lying sack up, this Trump, And so we just end up saying, oh, yeah, that's him. But I saw the word perfidious today, and I just said, that is him. That is him, perfidious. You're not going to vote for perfidious, are you? Please say you're not going to vote for perfidious. Our democracy depends on you saying, I know perfidy. I know a perfidious person when I see one. And I'm not going to buy a $60 Bible from that guy. You see, he's selling Bibles now. Now, I don't want to attack him. If you want to buy a Bible from Trump, that's fine. But, Bible sales is like a thing. Like, even where I was at a pretty decent school where you would think people would have better summer jobs than going door to door to sell Bibles. But actually, a lot of people who went on to business school and, high paying jobs and out in the world, that was a thing. It was like a missionary thing to go out to sell Bibles. And they would recruit people at Ivy League schools to go out and sell Bibles. And that's what I thought of. I thought of the people who recruited students from really top Ivy League schools to sell Bibles. And then I saw Donald Trump pushing these Trump Bibles. It's just a brand. He's putting a brand on everything. He's putting a brand on Bibles. He's putting a brand on democracy. He's putting a brand on the presidency. And we don't get it yet because we don't know perfidiousness when we see it. We're not willing to call it out. We're not willing to call out the perfidy, the perfidiousness. But we are willing to say, yeah, he's our kind of sinner, right? I mean, if you're a religious person, you wanted to buy a Bible, would you buy a Bible from Trump? Well, I mean, he's a real sinner. He's a real sinner. He's selling us a Bible. Key to redemption, perhaps. And, I think really what this says about us. We don't know perfidiousness. Maybe we're trusting. Is that it? Or we just, actually, that speaks to the fact that we just aren't as well educated as we should be. I include myself. I don't say I'm better educated than anyone else. But I didn't know. I saw perfidiousness or perfidious adjective. I saw perfidious Trump in the email headline this morning. And I thought, God, I don't know perfidious. I don't know that word. Oh my God, that's just another word I don't know. And then once I knew it, I said, oh, I love that word. We should know that. We've lived through that word, 2016 to 2020. And we see it in action now. And still a majority of Americans, it seems like a slight majority. And maybe that changes tonight when the Democrats have their fundraiser. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a big fundraiser. They're going to raise a lot of money. Democrats have a lot of money. But they have someone who will repel the perfidiousness of Donald Perfidious Trump. Big question. I don't know. I don't know. I just think that word perfidious or perfidy or more perfidious. I mean, perfidy is a specific act, a crime in war. But perfidious, treachery, basically a liar, right? Basically someone who's lying. That's Trump. That should be the new horrific. People overuse that term, as I said, to describe bad things. We need a word that will show, hey, we know something. But really, this is what separates the people who are for Trump and against Trump. The people who are for Trump usually have college educations. The people who are against Trump have college educations, live in the suburbs, and probably know what perfidious means. I think when most of them don't know what perfidious means, that's when we're in trouble. Because the people who don't give a damn about perfidious just laugh and say, take your $50 words and, go shove it. But I really think that perfidious should be. That's a word. That's the golden word that describes Donald John Trump, which we will dub perfidious. He should be a perfidious. It fits. It makes him sound like Donald, you could be a Greek god like Prometheus. You could be, you need a different Donald, John. Oh, so plain. You need a big name. Perfidious. People will call you Perfy. People in the hood will think you're kind of hip. Oh, he's Perfy. Yeah, Perfy. That's what they call it. I forgot the word that I saw in American fiction. Or was it F replaces everything? Anyway, Perfidious. Just call him Perfidious. That should be his name. Perfidious Trump. Perfidious Trump. All right. Now, so it's all about education. This is how class breaks down. People who have more education, live in the suburbs, tend to be more, women, book readers. They would know Perfidious. They would know perfidiousness when they see it. They're all anti-Trump. That's good. The people who don't know that word, they just go with them. They're like, they trust. They shouldn't. They believe they shouldn't. But this is part of the cult-like thing about where we are in America. Now, I know I talk about Easter and the teas. Is it Easter yet? Is it Easter yet? I saw this in the news. And it's really says where we are as a country and where we are, not just in our democracy, but where we are in our cultural lives. The headline: share of adults who say they never or rarely attend religious services. You look at the map and it is staggering. The average, the people who mostly attend religious services, who say they never attend. So the most people who don't attend religious services are in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, also the state of Washington, state of Oregon, and Hawaii. I know, weather's too nice. Oh, excuse me, Alaska. That's Alaska, not Hawaii. And I guess that's because maybe the weather's too bad in Alaska. They don't want to go to church. Or maybe it's bad in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So 75% in Vermont, 66% in New Hampshire, 66% in Maine have the highest share of adults who say they never or seldom attend church or religious services. This is from census data. The national average is 49%. More than 3/4 of Americans say religion's role in public life is shrinking, according to recent Pew Research Center survey, the highest level since the group first started tracking such sentiment in 2001. This is a bad omen. It means that we don't believe in anything. I mean, we should have the freedom to believe in something, right? That's our First Amendment right. But when we choose to not believe in anything, I would say this: watching Donald Trump try to sell a $60 Bible to me would probably turn me into an atheist. If I don't you think? I mean, but Donald Trump knows how to go after the religious people, the so-called theocracy, the conservative theocracy, and they don't mind having Donald Trump as their leader. Yeah, I mean, he got them to overturn. He got the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. He's a stalwart on some of their issues. As long as they win, they'll let the sinner do whatever he wants. That's the hypocrisy that they're. I mean, just the idea of Donald Trump under indictment, 4 trials, 90 plus counts, felonies, not just civil trials, criminal trials, and no one cares. Oh, remember, there's some polls that show, maybe they would care if he was convicted. But, this is the thing about some religions. They have there's no mortal sin. There's a lot of venial sins, and then you can be forgiven and go get your feet washed. I guess they would do that, or cleansed, and then go sin again. But this is the thing about religion, just got me as we are here in Easter week. You look at the map and you look at the places where they don't. Oregon and Washington were the surprises. I guess Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, some sense. But most Americans are in that 49%. It's a coin flip. Am I going to church or not? I will say this: I may not go to organized church as readily. I think I blame the pandemic. You see people. I mean, now it's kind of standard. When they pass out Holy Communion, people go there and they get blessed. They go up there and get the chalices of wine and the chalices of bread, the host. And before they do that, they go up to the altar. And I've seen them when I was last at church. I don't know if they still do it, but they would go there, and just as they would bless themselves with holy water, they would. I guess you could bless the Purell to make sure that the germs are killed from your hands. I mean, that was a new thing. I said, yeah, I mean, if you're going to hold the chalice and let people drink, I guess you're going to get a little squirt of Purell. But then just the idea of drinking from a common cup, that should be kind of, I don't think they still do that. Anyway, I haven't been to church in 3 years because of the pandemic. But it doesn't mean I'm not spiritual. It just means I don't attend these religious services. First Amendment right? But what are we replacing it with? That's the thing. I mean, Marianne Williamson, does that count? I like her as a spiritual person to learn from. Not sure if she'd be my first choice for president, but she would not be a bad person to run, a bad person to give counsel to someone who is in a high position. But I mean, this is the thing about, we're in Easter week, and I said in my tease, is it Easter yet? Because I don't know if people are really, they say there are Christians who only go to church on Easter and Christmas, like the Easter and Christmas Catholics. But maybe, and it's a coin flip. It says here, national average about 49%. Unlike Mississippi, 32% of the people. Alabama, 36%. Louisiana, 37%. They have the lowest share of adults who say they never or seldom attend services. And maybe they need to go more. But it's interesting when you come to a time like Easter, what do you even say to people? You know that people are taking Easter off, or the traffic is light on Easter Thursday, Holy Thursday, and also Good Friday. Probably be very light tomorrow. What do you tell people? You say it's almost like Christmas. Do you say Happy Holidays? I mean, I have a friend whose name is Jamal. He could be Christian. He could be Muslim. He could be, I don't know, African American. Do I say happy? An African American woman I know, I said Happy Easter. She came back in an email and said Happy Holidays. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there's just one holiday, isn't there? Just Easter Sunday. And Holy Week is, I guess, the whole thing could be considered a holiday, but most people are working. And so I'm thinking, man, this is where we are in America today, 2024, where the freedom of religion, which gave us our democracy, gave us the right to come here. We left King George. We left the Anglican Church. We came here to be our own people. And now it's a coin flip whether we go to church, because we'd rather go off in the corner and be spiritual alone, I guess. Although it doesn't say that. The survey didn't say that. I say that I don't go to church, but it doesn't mean I'm not spiritual. I've been pretty spiritual. I know that it's an inside job and not an outside job. I know that the things are inside that are important and not the things that shine that are on the outside. That's a spiritual perspective that, you battle. Is that real? I think, there's great peace. And a lot of it, I will say this, a lot of it comes through meditation, which is, what is meditation but prayer? When you realize that, you say, God, the Catholic Church, I didn't realize that. We were meditating. Yeah, we were saying that rosary, and that was prayer. We weren't doing downward dog or anything like that, but we were kneeling, and we were, it's not exactly yoga, but, it's Catholic, but we find our spirituality where we can. But I will say this, the Catholics are really good at proselytizing, because, I've got the images. I know Holy Thursday, Holy Friday, Good Friday tomorrow. It's quiet time, contemplative time. And then Easter. Easter's a big day. Rebirth, resurrection. So, however you celebrate it, Thank goodness for Cesar Chavez, because Cesar Chavez Day this year in particular, his birthday, March 31st, is on Sunday, Easter Sunday. So you could say, hey, I'm not celebrating. You could be a social justice warrior who believes in spirituality, believes in nonviolence, who believes in peace and love, and honor Cesar Chavez. There was a good example of a man. I mean, as I said in yesterday's show 673, I spent much of my time yesterday really going over why for the last 20, 30 years, I didn't have a whole lot of good to say about Cesar Chavez. I mean, a little bit. I mean, I did acknowledge that, yes, he went on to lead the farm workers, the United Farm Workers. But the spark, the heart, the soul of the strike in 1965 that led to the United Farm Workers and Cesar Chavez was from the efforts of Larry Itliong and the Filipinos who were in the fields for the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. They laid the groundwork. They were the path for the Mexican workers who were just coming in. And it was the vision of Larry Itliong who went to Chavez and said, Chavez, let's do this together. And Chavez, to his credit, made the right decision to join the strike, but it was a good week after the Filipinos had already struck in Delano, California. So why is it that most people don't know Larry Itliong's name, but they know Cesar Chavez? It's just like that word perfidious. Oh, there's nothing dishonest about what Chavez did. It's just that Chavez had that mystical sense that people just gravitated to, you know. I mean, Chavez was, well, he was charismatic because he was in the same, seemed like he was cut from the same cloth as MLK, as Gandhi. He had the same kind, and people like Bobby Kennedy wanted to go to the fields to figure out, oh, what is it that this guy Chavez had? And Chavez, he did have it. I mean, I don't want to deny that there was a charismatic sense about him that made people follow him. But the workers who started the strike, the people who knew what the labor issues were and knew how to mobilize the workers, that was Larry Itliong and the Filipino labor leaders of the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee, AWOC, that led the way. And even though Chavez joined the grape strike in 65, a week or so after the initial strike by the Filipinos, it took a while, a year or so, for Chavez's National Farm Workers Association to become organized and certified as an AFL-CIO operation, merged with the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee. That's how you got the United Farm Workers. I mean, because that march to Sacramento, which people talked about, 400, 350, 400 miles, Filipinos didn't like that. Filipinos said, hey, we're striking. You know, marching behind the Virgin Mary, that's not a strike. But that was the style of Chavez versus the style of the Filipinos. And that's why I spent most of the last 25, 30 years talking about the Filipinos and making sure they were not invisible, that people knew their role. But I will say this, as I've done some reading about Chavez, let's give him his due. Aside from the grape strike, let's give him his due as a as a spiritual, nonviolent leader who knew that that was the path to get the UFW over. And he also knew other things too, like his nonviolent sense meant that he was against all forms of violence as it pertained to animals, in terms of eating them, hunting, fishing, raising them, factory farms, you name it. Dogfight, he mentioned dogfighting in some remarks he made. He was against all nonviolence, rodeo, entertainment. He was against it all. He was one of the original animal rights activists out there. And Peter Ingrid Newkirk has acknowledged that this was the greatness of Chavez, ultimately, because he made people think about empathy toward animals, made people think about what it meant to be anti-speciesist, against discrimination of all forms, against any species. He was so far ahead of the game. And because it was more than just a stunt to go on hunger strikes, more than just a stunt to be nonviolent, it was a belief and a lifestyle. And some would say that was religion enough, that spiritual side. So as we say, okay, organized religion, no one's going to services. Yeah, but we have other things, other beliefs that we can put our attention, that we can focus on, our spiritual side. And that's why the coincidence of Easter Sunday and Cesar Chavez's birthday, March 31st, bigger deal than you think. Bigger deal. So we honor Chavez. I mean, I raise Itliong's name because for so long, as I said, whenever Chavez was mentioned, I always mentioned Itliong to make sure that people knew, hey, it was more than just Chavez. It was Larry, it was Philip Veracruz, it was Pete Velasco, a number of Filipinos who had come to America in the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, and they saw that the tide was changing and that the workers are coming from Mexico. But I do want to give Chavez's spirituality its due, because it's important. And if we, I mean, the Pew survey said 49% of Americans go to services. If the other 49 who didn't go to organized services had the same kind of beliefs as Cesar Chavez in nonviolence, peace, and love, we'd be in a different society today. Totally different situation today. We wouldn't have to worry about Perfidious Trump. The backwash, the flip, the turn. So, those are the things I wanted to talk about today. Just tomorrow, it depends. If I go to Good Friday services, I might just do a repeat. And then I'm preparing to go to New York. It should be fun to go to New York and do the Fringe. I did my show in where did I do my? I did my show in Fresno not too long ago, and it was a great time in Fresno. I loved being in Fresno. It's like going to how shows go to New Haven before they go to New York. Fresno was sort of like my New Haven, and now I'm going to New York. New York is not. I mean, I'm off Broadway. I'm not off Broadway. I'm not on Broadway. I'm not off Broadway. I'm off, and under. I'm under St. Mark's on 94 St. Mark's Place. But it's really the show about my life in terms of Filipino history. The person who invited me to this to speak on Chavez. My friend Nikki, she saw the show in San Francisco when I did it at the San Francisco Fringe. And she said, Emil, this is sort of like John Leguizamo's Latin American History for Dummies. I said, yeah, or morons, I think he said. I said, yeah, except Filipino. And it is. And, you know, my life is inextricably, you know, entangled by all the events that happened to my father. In the same way that if you were a direct descendant of a slave, you could say, you know, my life was pretty much cast when that happened. I mean, you know, it's not like a generation or two in between. And I realized that my father was a colonized American from the Philippines who came here in the 20s. And then his experience here, how it informed my life. That's what the show's about. And then how it affected me as I went on in the media at NPR. I talk about the wily Filipinos. Steve Martin gave me that idea. He didn't give me the idea, but I acknowledge that Steve Martin has written about wily Filipinos in a satirical way, but I use it as the way to describe all the men and the women, very small amount of women who came during that time. They had to be wily. And then I updated vegan trans dad. Oh, vegan trans dad. Someone came up to me after the speech I gave on Tuesday and said, vegan trans dad, Emil? What is that about? You're just going to have to see it. And if you go to the website, frigid.nyc, and put Emil Amok, probably by tomorrow, they're selling, you know, by Friday, they'll be selling live stream tickets so that if you're in San Francisco or if you're somewhere else and say, I'd like to see it, Emil. So, you know, buy a live stream ticket for $20, see it with several of your friends, split the cost, $10. It's, you'll see it and you say, there's Emil. He's kind of funny. We'll have to have him do it live here in the Bay Area or wherever, LA. But go to frigid.nyc to get tickets. Emil Amok, Los NPR host, wildly Filipino vegan trans dad. Once again, Friday, April 5th, 9:50 p.m. Monday, April 8th. That's right, the eclipse day at 8:10 p.m. But in the East Coast, it'll be after the big major eclipse event, which is about 3 o'clock Eastern time. Saturday, April 13th, 5:20 p.m. Friday, April 19th, 8:10 p.m. and Sunday, April 21st, 5:20 p.m. So if you're in New York, get your ticket, see it live, or get the live stream ticket. It's a little cheaper. And but you'll see me. I think they promised the tech was going to work this time and be great. But at least you'll see the show. It's fun. You'll experience it and say, God, Emil, that was funny. That was funny. I made it funnier. I got Alex Edelman, who does one-man shows, works with Mike Birbiglia. He was saying, you gotta have the jokes. People want the jokes. Right, so they're jokes. They're jokes. You'll go away and say, well, I laughed. I laughed at the part where he, talked about his dad getting peed on by the pig. That was funny. That was funny. And then, when he talked about his ex-wife and his wife and that was funny. And then we talked about his kid. Oh, he talked about his kid. Oh, that was funny. You'll say that. You'll say it. And then you say, 2 stars. No, maybe, let's see, funny. Maybe 4 stars. You get 4 laughs out of it. Should be fun. Should be fun. I'm telling you, I'm not being perfidious now. I'm not being perfidious about it. I'm just saying, come to the show, try it out. There's no act of perfidy here. I'm honest Emil. Hey, the number one egg or the number one candy I was reading, Reese's peanut butter cups. Look, it's got milk chocolate, so it's not vegan. But there are vegan Reese's out there, and there are vegan peanut butter cups, and there's a great recipe for real vegan dark chocolate, no milk, peanut butter, not cup, but kind of like a slab. Great. I mean, there's ways to be vegan for Easter. You don't have to, and a lot of those candies that have that shiny shell, a lot of them they're made from beaver bladders. Did you know that? I mean, you can look it up. Maybe they fixed that. But that was a thing with candies. Not only did you have to worry about the milk chocolate, you had to worry about the beaver bladders. Now, there. Doesn't that make you want to run out and get some candy? All right, that's it for the show today. Hey, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. This is what I do. I talk, I read, and I see how can I be less perfidious each day, more open, non-perfidious. I want to be non-perfidious, perfidious versus perfidious Trump. I mean, he is the most perfidious. I want to be less perfidious. Meditate on that word. That's a word worth meditating on. All right. Let's see if check the. So, hello to all those out there in podcast land, secret podcast. If you're here, you know who you are. This is Emil Amok's Takeout. You can catch us on YouTube at Emil Amok1, on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, X formerly known as Twitter, at Emil Amok, EMIL AMOK. Also catch us on Facebook, Emil Guillermo, or emilguillermo.media. Also, maybe Twitter. Maybe, no, not Twitter. Maybe Instagram. Or just, don't. You can look at Instagram. Emil Amok 1. Emil Amok 1 on Instagram. All right. We shall meditate our way out. I don't go to church. Since COVID. I still don't want to get COVID from the guy. And I know if I don't get COVID from him, I'll get something else. So I'm good. I'm good spiritually. I'll go to church, get my spirituality, knowing that it's inside. It's an inside job. Pull it out. Pull it out. Not looking at the outside stuff, the exterior stuff. Interior. Trying to be a good person. And so, as I wished for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here, not perfidious. Thanks for joining. Till next time. Mahal